Nigerian newspapers. We are 10 years later, of course, 10 years after the 276 schoolgirls of the government secondary school, in Chibok, right there, community in Borno State, were abducted by Boko Haram terrorists. The parents have continually said, calling out to the president and saying that, please, we do want the return of our children. And yes, a good thing that about 21 of them have been returned, right? And with 34 kids. That's right, following, suit. And might I also bring to the fact that at least that the labor has also submitted about 615,000 naira as minimum wage demand and fresh proposal. That was also yesterday. But then looking into today, what exactly are we going to be talking about today? We'll be talking about something that bothers, Nigeria's escalating debt challenges and concern. I mean, for quite some time now, in Nigeria, there's been a big problem. There's been a challenge where the country owes a lot of money and it is getting worse. So today we are hoping to dive into why this is happening and what it means for everyday people, for you and I. What does it mean? What does it entail? Right? How does it affect you and I? And we will attempt to break it down, break down the numbers and ask, the important questions about how the government is managing this situation. Yeah, that's what we'll be attempting to do today on the show. And yes, we're going to be joined by our guest, who is in the person of Mr. Adefolari Olamilekon. Yes, is going to be joining us via phone call as we engage that conversation already. And yes, he's a political economist at Leeds Researchers, right? A political economist at Lead Researchers, policy analyst at Poll Echo Analytics, a think tank and economic research organization based in Abuja, Nigeria. Good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Adefolari Olamilekon.
Good morning, and very good morning to all our listeners out there.
All right, Mr. Adefolari, let's dive into the matter, precisely. I mean, we're looking at the Nigeria's escalating debt challenges and concerns, right? And
yes.
We would like to unbundle, why this is happening, right? And what it means for everyday people. Let's have your thoughts on it.
One thing about debt or one thing about borrowing is not a strange or unimaginable activities of government across the world. It's something that most governments across the world dive into. But the challenge we have in sub-Saharan Africa and particularly Nigeria is because when we borrow or when we go into debt, the citizens find it difficult to access the money that has been borrowed or the debt in question with the concrete infrastructure in place. So that's why it becomes something that suspicious, it becomes something of challenge, because something of like a magic to the citizens. So everybody get bothered when government is debt or when government goes in borrowing spree, and there's no evidence to show for the borrowing.
Right.
So
that's exactly what it is, and that raises some concerns, right? Especially with the fact that Nigeria's total debt is projected to rise significantly from 87.3 trillion naira to 111.4 trillion naira. That is a landslide. That's like the margin is so large, and this will be due to some fresh borrowings, especially in the first quarter of 2024. Another concern would be the fact that the government has borrowed over 7 trillion naira locally and have secured a 2.25 billion US dollar loan from Afrexim Bank in quarter one of 2024, right? You would also recall the fact that borrowings were made through treasury bills, the FGN bonds, and even saving bonds to address budget deficits and economic challenges. There's one thing that strings all of these together. We keep hearing borrowings. Now, if you look at the foreign borrowings, let's take it away from the local borrowings now. Borrowings were made through for the foreign borrowings, Nigeria arranged a 3.3 billion US dollar crude oil prepayment facility, right? and with an
Yes,
initial
yes.
disbursement of $2.25 billion US dollars. And the experts are already beginning to talk, right? Now, what is the impact on the debt ratio? The impact on the debt ratio is the fact that with increasing borrowings, Nigeria's debt to GDP ratio is expected to rise and impacting future economic stability. Now, what might be the economic challenges, right? And rising debt might, from the indices that we are looking at right now, it might exacerbate existing economic woes, especially when you look at high inflation and unemployment. Now, it brings us to looking at some aspects, of all of this. I mean, some persons say it is said that borrowing is not a crime, right? But then when you borrow and the monies that you have borrowed are not being channeled into productive cause where there might be a yielding, right, to be able to get a repayment, that's where the issue really lies. So let's talk about sustainability. Can Nigeria, as it stands, sustain its increasing debt burden without adverse effects on its economy? Can we do that?
I think to start with is for us to understand all this borrowing of government.
Right.
Let's first clear the mystery of this borrowing. Now, the first mystery we need to clear is that the entire debt is not on federal government alone.
Oh.
It's debt taken by the state, local government, and the federal government. And majority of these debts are on the state government.
Majority
is on federal government.
Majority
now,
are on the states.
Yes, on the state.
Oh,
because
okay.
most of us don't focus on how states are borrowing to support their economy. So when this borrowing comes, we only look at the aspect of the federal government, forgetting the entire aspect of the state. That is one.
Right.
And the other aspect is this. Before the Tinubu administration came, it is 57.3 billion naira debt on ground. Now, he's taking it to 111 billion 111 billion.
0.4 trillion, yes.
Yes. Now the challenge now is that the additional 30 trillion or thereabout that is borrowing, where is it putting it in the economy? Which part of the economy is it putting it into? Because if you look at the previous 87, we have not seen anything done with those money. But we still know that a vast percentage of some of those money go into construction of some roads that we can attest to, like the second Niger bridge and some road infrastructure within the corridor of the Nigerian economy, as well as the rail infrastructure. But ask me, what about the one that the governors borrowed? Where can we attest that this money was put into? Out of the 87, because we must establish that there was 87 before we now have 111.
Yeah.
Now the 87, they are claiming that we cannot see it, particularly that of federal government and that of state governors. We cannot even see anything that they use their money for. That is on one hand. Now the rest 31 trillion that Tinubu has borrowed or has engaged in borrowing, where is it putting the money?
Where is it putting money? Yeah.
If we don't establish this fact,
yes,
you may not be able to understand the stability and the impact that this debt will have on our economy. That is the other aspect of it. So we must be able to clear this so that our listeners can understand where we are coming from and where we are at this point in time. That's why we established the 87. It has been borrowed. We never saw it. Now the 31 is here. We are still complaining. We have not seen it. And we are hoping that we can see it. That is on one hand. Now you make facts around the 2.5 billion US dollar the NNPC borrowed on behalf of the federal government to fight the naira depreciation. If you remember what that money was borrowed for, it was a crude oil swap with dollar, with NNPC and African Export-Import Bank. They borrowed 3 billion, but they gave them 2.5 billion in advance. And that was part of the money that CBN put into fighting naira depreciation between September, October, November, January, February, March, and even currently at this point in time. So those are the evidence of that particular one. For other borrowing that government have done, where have they put it? Now, you now add the second leg of your question. how will the economy be stabilized?
Yeah.
What will be the impact of the economy?
That's
now,
right.
The major challenge that we are going to be having is this. Now, the major source of federal government revenue is oil. Now, when we have done this borrowing, when we are paying back some of this money, we are going to be giving them our revenue back, meaning that government is going to suffer on revenue generation. They will generate the money, but they will not be able to use that money to cater for certain things that concern the citizenry. That is on federal government side. We don't want to go to the state governor because the state governors, they're already paying heavily for their debt.
Okay.
Every month that federal allocation is given to state governors, the CBN is deducting the debt they are owing.
Oh, currently.
They are paying in 2 ways.
Okay.
They are paying in 2 ways. One, they are paying local debt. They are also paying for debt servicing. The same thing is also applied to federal government on the long run. Now, the major implication of this is that there will not be enough money to cater for infrastructure or aiding the economy as expected. And that is where we are going to suffer a big blow on the Nigerian economy.
Right.
That is where, at the end of the day, we may not be able to give account of a government after 4 years or a government after 8 years because all the revenue that comes to the government at that point in time, they are using to service the loan they have borrowed or pay debt they are owing.
So when you say we're servicing the loan, it's not like we're paying off the debt, the loan in itself. We're only servicing it, right?
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Yes.
but let's look at another angle. Another angle will be the fact that given the fact that the federal government has done some borrowings, and there are still some unaccounted for borrowings that Nigeria is asking question, wanting to know what's going on and all of that. As a civic right, as a responsibility on our part, right? We've also seen very recently the Socio-Economic and Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, urging the president to release copies of loan agreements that has been obtained by governments of former presidents from the Olusegun Obasanjo up until the late Umaru Yar'Adua to Goodluck Jonathan, as well as Muhammadu Buhari. In fact, they are saying this, that it will enable, in fact, that the president should put out an independent audit on the spending of the loans obtained by governments of the former president, and that to make public. And do you think for some levels of transparency?
Exactly. It is something that most of us have been calling for many years.
Right.
The only thing is that government will be so adamant to release those information because those information will be too complex and too complicated on each individual president that has served this country since 1999. And majority of them may not be able to defend some of those loans. Although the people who serve with them, particularly individuals who serve as ministers of finance, individuals who serve as special assistants, or individuals who serve as CBN governor, or individuals who mounted the office of debt management office. These are the critical individuals that can really help us out in this particular information that SERAP asks for.
Right.
But the question is that at the end of the day, it may become a thing that some citizens themselves will not want to agree with the outcome of such findings. Take for instance, President Olusegun Obasanjo, he borrowed. He also went as far as ensuring that there are debt cancellation. Some people may not be happy that you want to expose it. Some people may not be happy that after what he has done to help us to get them debt cancellation, we still want to crucify him. That is on Obasanjo.
Right.
What about late Mr. Yar'Adua? Some people say no, it's already dead. We can't be fighting a dead person, and we cannot be speaking ill of a dead person. After all, he did his best. Now, what about Goodluck Jonathan? Some people will still rise up and say, no, you can't prosecute Jonathan because after he only spent 6 years. And now what did he do? So, let's go to Buhari, the same thing. So, the sentiment will come in because of that kind of ethno-religious card that we normally throw into serious issues of nation building. But that has been said. But the critical point is that we all know that even if these documents are released to the public, it has already been established that they just borrow that money for frivolous activities that have no concrete impact on the economy. See, out of all the money that they have borrowed, we know that they build roads, we know that they build bridges, we know that they supply medical equipment to some hospitals. But how sustainable are those things that up till now we cannot see evidence of those things across Nigeria.
And that takes us to the place of how will the government even boost revenue to meet the debt obligations? But just before you answer that question, let us open the phone lines and hear from other family members and get to know their thoughts on the conversation or the topical issue in discourse. We're still talking Nigeria's escalating debt challenges and the concerns that follow. We still have our guest who is joining us via phone call, Mr. Adefolari Olamilekon. You want to join the conversation, you want to ask those salient questions, you can do so by putting a call through to the station via the studio number 0907 353 0044. The other number is 0908, 766 8888, and the WhatsApp portal number is 0909 705 4450. You can as well get onto the WhatsApp portal, drop your voice note message right there, as well as your message, and we would herald these messages. Well, back to you, Mr. Adefolari. We asked the question of how then will the government boost revenue, right, to meeting these debt obligations? How then?
All right, in terms of government meeting the revenue, and let me also quickly drop some line around some of these debts.
Yes.
So, when the global administration, for instance, it did 3 types of borrowing that we can quickly clarify.
Okay.
One was it did securitization of some government agencies. The revenue that will be coming to them, it securitizes it.
Okay.
Meaning that we borrowed money from some agencies, from international bodies in advance. Now, whatever money that is coming to those agencies pays directly to those people that borrowed money from. That is securitization. I hope you get. Now, CBN also did the same thing with some agencies. Now, to what we normally call the 2023-2024 borrowing plan of the Buhari government, which he activated. He activated that borrowing plan. There is this, there is this 100 million US euro. There is $7 billion that is collecting from World Bank. There is also 100 million US euro. Now, those borrowing plans were already existing from 2022, 2023.
From the Buhari administration, right?
Yes, of the federal administration.
Okay.
So, in his own government per se, in Tinubu government per se, he has not really, apart from the 3 billion that NNPC went and secured for African Exim Bank, he has not really gone out to borrow money, but rather to continue the borrowing plan of Buhari, which is going to expire by June. Then from June, he's going to start his own borrowing plan, which they are also preparing. Because I understood that there's a document they're working on in terms of how to start his borrowing from June. But he has already emphasized that he's not going to borrow much from external, but he's going to concentrate on internal generation of revenue. But with all the borrowing debt that is on ground now, there is no way he can earn. If the Nigerian government, federal government earn much from internal generation, major part of that money will go to payment of debt that was being owned under the Buhari government. So he may just have little. And that's why I see that recently they are concentrating more on fiscal policy and tax increase everywhere. So those are the plans that he is putting in place. But as you rightly pointed out on your question, so how are we going to balance our revenue with our debt payment structure? As I earlier pointed out, it's going to be a very big war in the sense that the numbers of money, the figures that will be generating will be much, but out of it, government may not getting much in terms of bringing back into the economy as expected. But as long time as the time goes on, maybe if they don't borrow again from June, then maybe there could be a recipe for us not to suffer from our revenue generation, usually to pay most of our debt. But we must establish this. The other part of this discussion is that the debt of state governors, they will continue to pay it because it is from the federal allocation to be costing that money to pay them, because most of them are not doing much to generate internally. But for the federal government, they are doing all manner of fiscal approach to ensure that they generate revenue to take care of some of the things we need to do in the country.
All right, but there's a concern, Mr. Deflari. Let's not act as if we don't see this concern. The concern is this. I mean, just recently, the EFCC, that's talking about the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, had come out to saying that there is a fresh recovery of 445,000 US dollars, as well as 3 billion naira in the ongoing probe of the scandal that is rocking the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, right? And in fact, this is apart from the earlier 30 billion naira, right, that was earlier recovered, in March, where the EFCC chairman Olukoyede referenced, sometime in an interview. Now, Nigerians are now asking these questions. I mean, the scandal rocking the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs is one that is seemingly an eye-opener to Nigerians. One, about the fact that there is money in this country, even though some persons want to believe that there is no money in the country, that the government has no money, and that's why it is seen with the borrowings that the government keeps making, from the international community, from internal sources, from taxation and all of that. Yeah. And the question still remains, what then? Can't we use these monies, or can't these monies be used to pay back some of these borrowings that we have made, or can it also be used by the federal government to ensuring that the basic amenities and the need, the capital projects and developmental strides are being, channeled into the lives of Nigerians? Wouldn't this go a long way? That's on the one side. Secondly, shouldn't there also be a probe far away from just, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, to looking into every other government parastatal ministry, agency, and departments? Because there is a belief that should we do that, the federal government would be able to recoup some of the monies, that are just lying there wasting, some of the monies that some persons are already, prepping to siphon and launder and put into their personal accounts. What's your thoughts on all of these?
I think for me, on the part of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, it has been established already as an agency or an institution of government that needs to take care of certain aspects of our economy, certain aspects of our society.
Yeah.
Whatever money that is recovering from people who are managing that agency before and it was stolen, you best know that such money will still return back to that ministry.
Right.
Because that money were meant for certain projects, but it was stolen by individuals who were given the responsibility to manage it. So it's not money that will be diverted to other agencies or use money to go and pay anything. That money will still go back to that
the ministry itself,
and to be used for the project that is meant for that ministry.
Okay.
Now, other money that will be recovered elsewhere, what can the government use it for? I remember being government, majority of the money that was recovered from either the Abacha loot, or money recovered from other individuals who have served in government that stole money. Most times, those money goes back to the federal treasury, and it goes back to the federal government consolidated account. Get it? Federal government consolidated account, which is the federal government owned account, which is meant for account that treats all federal government agencies, where that's where they disburse money from federal government agencies and the rest of them. So that was what was done then. But for the Tinubu government, if they are recovering any money now, maybe they will still follow the same step, or they may think around what they will use the money for. But I don't think they will use the money to pay for debt.
Okay.
I don't think they'll use the money for, because they'll use the money. Either they take the money back to the original area that money is supposed to serve, or they put it in the consolidated account of federal government as a put for money that can be disbursed for further development project or development engagement.
So will debt servicing, consume a significant portion of Nigeria's revenue, maybe leaving little for essential services, from your own point of view?
Definitely, it will have a very significant impact on the Nigerian economy.
Right.
When you talk about debt servicing, it means that you are still owing the principal. You have not paid the principal. You're only servicing the debt. And you know one tricky thing about debt servicing is that many people don't know is that, and which people in government sometimes they get confused, is that when you are servicing a debt, you to borrow more.
I didn't get that.
When you are servicing debt,
yes,
it you to borrow more. That is happen. That is the trick that most of these third world African countries, they don't want. They easily fall for, because the principal, the own money that you borrow, let's say you borrow $2 billion, then you're not paying debt servicing of $2 million every month. You get it? What that servicing shows that you have the capacity to borrow more. So you'll be used to Boko and come and borrow more. That's what happens. Get it? Let me quickly also enlighten some of our listeners. There are two forms of borrowing that come from, or three forms of borrowing that come from international bodies like World Bank, IMF, International Finance Corporation, and Development Bank of Africa, and the rest of them. For instance, IMF don't borrow you money to put into concrete development. They borrow you money to safeguard your currency, and also borrow you money to safeguard your balance of trade deficit. When you are importing too much and your currency is suffering, so what IMF borrow you money. World Bank borrow you money to put in concrete development and some abstract development purposes like training, development of some policies and the rest of them. So most times when we borrow some of this money, say for instance money that was borrowed to carry out training from civil servant, many of us will not know where that money goes into. But we borrow that money from World Bank.
Yeah.
But the same World Bank can also borrow you money to construct drainage. They can borrow you money to do some health project. But guess what? By the time you finish that health project, most of the infrastructure that you are going to be using, or some of the items you'll be using on that project, will be imported from foreign countries.
Okay.
So that's why you hear that it is grant, it is aid. Then on the IMF side, most of the money they give you is to safeguard your currency against the dollar, especially when you are suffering from balance of trade. So that's why most times we don't get to see much of some of this money because of the technicality that goes with it.
Okay. Well, you want to also join the conversation, give us that call already, ask those salient questions, and it will be via the studio number 0909 705-4450. That is the WhatsApp portal number, and you can as well call the studio numbers as well. It's talking about getting to have your voice heard. That would be 0907 353-0044. The other number would be 0908 766-8888. Right, we're still talking about Nigeria's escalating debt challenges and concerns, and we would look at something that bothers around fiscal discipline. Right, how can the government ensure that responsible spending of borrowed funds to avoid worsening economic conditions? How can the government do that? I mean, it's no news anymore, the fact that we are going through tough times and hardship, right? But then how can the government ensure responsible spending of borrowed funds to avoid, worsening these economic conditions that we face?
I think, interestingly, the government knows what to do when it comes to fiscal discipline.
Right.
And what is fiscal discipline? What is fiscal discipline simply means how you make money and how you spend your money. Now, on the side of spending money is what we call revenue. On the side of on the side of making money is what we call revenue.
Okay.
On the side of spending money is what we call expenditure.
Yeah.
So what are the priority expenditure of government at this time? What are we putting the money we are making into? For instance, if we continue to put money in frivolous government activities, ceremonious activities that doesn't have any productive concurrent impact, definitely we will suffer for it. And again, the areas we are making money, what are we doing to also ensure that we have a less limited corruption, less unlimited gaps that will allow people to do anyhow and steal government money or waste government money. Then on the side of the spending, which is the expenditure, as I earlier pointed out, what are those concrete economy supporting activities that we are putting the money on? For instance, energy, roads. See, we give it to the federal government of Nigeria. They do a lot of road construction. But the problem is that those roads sometimes don't last. Those roads sometimes they are abandoned halfway in terms of construction. That is the challenge they do have. Now, those money in training. They train civil servants a lot. Just that most of us don't know. They spend money on training. If you check the item of most government agencies, but even for 2024, you will see a lot of training programs they are having from their staff. But go and check the outcome of those training, whether those training have impact on the host workers that could translate or transmit into concrete evidence of service delivery. That is the question. The other aspect is this. When we have money meant for development purpose that have been taken from our fiscal policy, do we do a lot of monitoring to ensure that that money is really meant for sustainable projects? Say, for instance, National Assembly is taking working some of money projects to the taste of their constituents, or they are just collecting that money and wasting it. The same thing with state government, with the intervention programs that federal government is doing at state level. Federal government is doing a lot of intervention at state level. Many of us may not take account of it, but go and find out whether those state governors allow those intervention projects to really settle down, or they allow them to be really completed at the right time. Because if projects are not completed, it has become a waste. So in our fiscal discipline, we must avoid wastages, we must avoid corruption, and we must also avoid incidences of whereby people are just frivolously, seeing expenditure without concurrently looking at the sustainable of those projects.
Okay,
I don't know whether you
I mean by that. Let's put a peg to your thoughts and just take this call very quickly. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning. Yes, good morning to you, please.
Yeah, good morning to your guest. I'm listening to you live this morning.
All right, feels good. Thank you so much for that. What's your name?
This morning. How was your weekend? Sir?
Wonderful, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, take him in. Thank you. All right, go ahead straight.
Yes, Mr. Udua, you see, your guest made mention of something, along the discussion line. He said this government is already drawing up a plan on how to start borrowing their own money. You see, Mr. Udua, my own problem is that I think since the inception of democracy, in Nigeria, only Buhari government came into power and began to bring out homogeneous budget. And only Buhari government borrow money more than any other government. Somebody can correct me on this. But the amount of money Buhari government borrow was something else. And then we Nigerians did not see anything in commensurate with the kind of money they borrowed. And so we believe and concluded that those monies were being embezzled. And so many things happen with the money they borrow. Misuse of priorities. For example, a lot of Nigerian states have not been connected to railway, and Buhari government decided to use the money that was borrowed to link Nigeria, Nigeria and Niger. And you'll be wondering what is his interest. Is this not a misplace of priority? A lot of states here, have not been linked up, and you choose to link Nigeria and Niger. So one thing is that when they borrow money, I don't know whether it's because the money is borrowed. Some of those things they do with those monies, we don't even understand. But can't the Senate, what I want to ask you again, can't the Senate begin to work for the Nigerian people? And if they borrow money and they do not tell the Senate or tell the Nigerian people what they are using this money for, can't the Senate block these people from borrowing further? Because Buhari government borrowed a lot of money that it will take time to pay, and we did not see anything on ground that was tangible.
Thank you. Thank you so much right there. Take it be, putting a question out there. Mr. Adefalari, are you there?
Yes,
I'm sure you heard what he said, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so what's your reaction to that? Can't the Senate stop the federal government from borrowing monies, especially seeing that the borrowings are now becoming too much and it's not meeting the needs or the expectant need?
I think on what the caller is trying to point out is that the evidence is not there that when government borrow money, they will see the concrete nature of the money in terms of infrastructure development and the rest of them. So he cited the example of the National Assembly going to project, just like I earlier pointed out.
Right.
It's just that,
and he also cited the fact that rather than connecting the states in Nigeria, right, through rail line and all of that, that the past administration saw it as top priority to connect Nigeria with Niger. And he's trying to understand the rationale behind that move, right? And I guess it gets back to what you're saying in the first place.
You know, just like you write for a very long time, but if you want to correct it, it may not be the category of the current people that are in government now that can help us to do that, because most of them have been in government since 1999.
Okay, so what are you saying? Are you saying that we should have
transparency and accountability that we require to get some of these things done? Should just be pressed on so that we can have some of these documents in public, so we can interrogate them and have intervention on them going forward.
Okay, let's take yet another call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning to you, Dr. Udwak.
Yes, good morning to you, please. What's your name?
I greet you, I greet your guest. My name is Omotaya.
All right, Omotaya, feels good. Let's go straight to the point, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, my protocol is to observe. In concerning this issue of our national debt, yes, and if the
Hello, are you there? Oh, Mataya, you're out. All right, do well to call back. The number is 0907-353-0044 or 0908-766-8888. The WhatsApp portal number is 0909-705-4450. We'll see yet another call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, morning.
Yes, good morning to you, please. What's your name?
Morning, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's your name, please? Where are you calling from? Sorry? Yes, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, all these Nigerian get through.
Okay, you're not helping me right there. And hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, please. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Atese calling from my channel.
Okay, please, straight to the point. Let's get it.
I heard you when you say that you asked a question. Is it possible for the National Assembly to stop the federal government from borrowing? You see, the problem we are having in the country, building a nation, it's not one person. One person cannot build a nation.
Okay.
Building a nation, building Nigeria, belong to me and you and everybody, both the National Assembly that we are talking about.
Right.
The problem we are having in this country is just only one problem, and the problem is this: you don't believe in people and you want to rule people. Now,
I didn't get that. We don't believe in what?
I say the problem we are facing in our dear country, Nigeria,
yes,
is that you don't believe in people and you want to rule people.
Okay.
There are a set of people who cannot be your leader, and you want to be a leader over them. If you go to a developed country like America, Canada, and now the developed country, you hear that, you will see that the power of every nation is the.
Oh, come on. You were trying to make a point right there. But then do well to call back. Let's take this call and then we'll get back to you, Mr. Defolari. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning to you.
Hello, Udwan.
Yes, good morning, Bibi.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I greet our caller, the last caller and the second caller.
Right.
And our guests in the studio. Now, what he's trying to say, you don't believe what we are telling you and you want to rule us. That one, step aside. What is happening for Nigeria now? Who is ruling us? Who is governing us? Even though the National House of Assembly. Truth, I want to ask, now we be the people where appoint the put for there.
Right.
Where did the National Assembly work? If this issue come out like this, who's supposed to handle our case? I think this time around, not the people that you can listen for. You cannot listen for everybody. Like issue that we are saying now, we vote for president. to make sure this is go down. We not even vote for them, we even fight corruption because now corruption go even later fight turn against us again. Because I not see whereby somebody above the law they go leave us. The other common man now they go able to arrest. What am I want to pass through this morning?
Yeah.
Our president is a president that he have here that he can listen for common man, me and you.
Right.
Where he go tell listen now through this radio. Television cannot tell her the truth. Newspaper they cannot tell her the truth. We cannot meet our president. If he can listen for this lady when we dey talk, you go still say this is go dey easy for us.
Right.
That if he come out there, he no go blame anybody. He go say he hear it by himself and he walk around. If president can take a time or today or tomorrow, go to our market now to know what is happening. Not be to say subsidy is gone. Now we don't know, we don't aware. Now we also aware now say dollars is don't go finally. Out of us they don't aware say dollar don't go finally.
All right,
now
baby.
what are the 100?
Yeah.
Now for me to tell president say that work where you do is a good job. Dollar not concern me as you. Go to the market now. One mudu of garri is worth about 200 naira. Please, if our president can come out this morning, he go say price of phone may call that. If he dey listen for us, so if not be newspaper, if not be radio, my brother, everybody go like president. I know say not everybody go take am.
All right,
But
baby.
like, carry dollar call that. They say we dey happy
Yeah.
say dollar don't call that. Me, BB Best say nothing concern me with the dollar. I know they go market and use dollar buy something.
Right.
Let us begin to use our naira. Let's for a call down. May we know. Let president come out
All
and
right.
say and now say
All right.
something is
All
gone.
right.
May still come out to say
Yeah.
to 200 naira.
Yeah.
Because it's a price of thing go count that. But
Okay.
we are talking what you want till I say we don't get solution.
Okay,
If we
baby,
want,
bless
we
you.
need solution in our country, Nigeria.
Yeah.
God bless you. God bless
Thank
Nigeria.
you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Defalari. It just, I'm sure you heard that. Well, it just takes us, to the place where we'd say, what is the impact on, the citizens? How will this rise in debt affect ordinary Nigerians, especially in terms of inflation, in terms of food pricing, in terms of job opportunity? I guess that's what BB Blessing is saying. I mean, how can we keep borrowing all of these monies and we're saying that we're going to put these monies into a certain capital project that should be that should give succor, to the people, and then we don't see these things happen, right? We don't see it happen. How does it now affect us? Because it's really affecting us now. And she has enumerated some of the things that we go through as a people. For you, does it call for concern? And what's your take on this? How does this debt borrowing, impact on us?
I think very interesting. Your call very sensitive to the issues of the economy, particularly when we talk about the ordinary people feeling
Yes.
the heat of the economy of Nigeria.
Yes.
From food inflation to high cost of transportation,
Right.
energy costs, and the major impact from the rural subsidy. That they claim of a naira depreciation that many traders claim that will make them to increase their
Yes.
products and their items.
Yes.
But now that naira is having a gain against dollars, why can't they bring down the price of goods and services? They're still claiming high cost of transportation.
Yeah.
So it's just part of some of the symptom of unmanaged or poorly managed.
Just before you go on, I know this might seem this might seem a bit of a deviation, but what do you think is making the price stay where it is?
Just came out and said,
Are you there? Are you
Yeah,
there?
I'm there.
Okay. I said just before you go on, right, with your thoughts, right? What do you think is keeping the price of commodities still on the high? I mean, just like you rightfully mentioned, I mean, the dollar is, naira is appreciating and all of that, but then the prices are still the same. Just a very quick one.
No, the issue about the price of goods and commodities is still very high. Associated with the high cost of transportation.
Right.
Also associated with although CBN have reversed the custom import duty rate down to 1,238 naira.
Yes.
But initially it was about 1,446 naira to the exchange rate. But that has been, then the high cost of energy is also contributing. Get it. So with these three factors in place, and let's not forget the issue of insecurity around the country. So these are the issues that traders, manufacturers claims on. That's making them to increase the price of their wares.
Okay.
So, they started with the fuel subsidy remover. But now everybody has settled down with that. Now they went to issue of a dollar naira exchange. Now that dollar naira is coming down, they are hampering on insecurity, they are hampering on multiple taxation, and as well as energy costs. So those are the factors that are severely influenced.
Okay, but yeah, let's look at it now at the impact, on the citizens. These borrowings, this rise in borrowings and debt, how is it affecting you and I in terms of inflation, in terms of job opportunities?
Okay, that means to the individual level.
Hello?
To the individual level, it affects you and I in the sense that, let's start with connecting the dots. Get it?
Yes.
Things that you and I, or as a private citizen, normally enjoy that help us to aid our economic activities, particularly energy per se. The government doesn't have much money to fund our energy infrastructure because of debt services. It affects us. That's number one. Then, transport. We're supposed to have a modern municipal means of transportation. Get it? But government is not doing that, either at the national level or at the state level. It's affecting us. Then security is also another issue that we need to raise. If there's not much money to provide kits and kills for our security and the rest of them, it definitely affects us. So generally, when government concentrates on debt servicing and debt borrowing, it's trying to pay back their debt. The nation will not have enough money to cater for implement for infrastructure that will aid the economy going forward.
Yeah.
So, we may not have enough time because I know you're already
up to just pressed for time and all. But let's quickly talk about how these increase in debt levels affect investors' confidence in Nigeria's economy. Does it affect investors' confidence? Just in a very quick.
Definitely, it may also erode the confidence of investors because investors are looking for a business environment that there is not deficit in infrastructure. Talk about energy, talk about security, talk about road infrastructure that will support their logistics distribution of their goods. Although we have two types of investors, we have FPI, foreign portfolio investors. Foreign portfolio investors may not be too worried about your debt. Get it? But FDI, foreign direct investors, may be more worried because they are the ones that will come and build concrete business.
Okay.
FPI will come and even add to the injury. Get it? Like the treasury papers that CBN is selling now, and the bond paper that debt management office is selling now. Those are the things that FBI are interested in. They'll come and buy those things to increase your debt. Get it? And even securitization of debt also, they are also interested. So FBI may be interested in those things. They may not care about your debt. Get it? But FDI will very, very much interested in ensuring that debt is not much because government may not be able to supply infrastructure to the economy to aid the economy.
Very quickly, let me just bring this out right there. Let's talk about some external factors. How vulnerable is Nigeria to external shocks and even fluctuations? And when you look at given its high debt levels,
definitely it will also be the major external we'll be having is on our foreign reserve.
Okay.
I would have even mentioned this earlier.
Yeah.
Our foreign reserve is where we keep all our foreign currency that government earns. Dollar, yen, pound, euro. Definitely it will be tweetly. It will be going down. It will be nosediving as normally things in the economy.
Right.
So it will be shock. There will be uncertainty around it. It will be fluctuating to be going up and down.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we may not be able to have supply of foreign currency to safeguard naira against other foreign currency when it comes to exchanges. So that's where we are going to have a big blow on from the external factor.
All right.
And this may rub on the local factor, talking about other aspects of the economy that may be suffering from debt impact.
Okay.
Generally.
Yeah. Let's just take this call and then we'll call it a close. Hello. Good morning.
Yes, good morning to you once again.
Yes. Yeah, Omotayo, you might want to go very straight to the point. Time is far gone. Please, straight to the point.
All right. So this is me, Omotayo. Yes, I said that if the federal government, the EFCC, which is a body of the federal government, went after just one agency, one ministry, Ministry of Humanitarian.
Yes.
And recover such amount of billions. Then what is so difficult with the government actually focusing on going after many other ministries that under the Buhari's administration to recover more, like Hadisi, who collected billions of dollars and told us that Nigeria Air is here with us, and the next day we go find the air, and the man is working free today on the to go after such ministry.
Okay, Omotayo.
Money recovered.
Yeah, time.
The health sector,
Yeah,
look at the
time.
education sector,
Hey,
look at
Mataya,
the
time. I already told you that. Go straight to the point, but I understand. Thank you so much for that. Well, Mr. Adefolari, I think we've talked about this. He's already saying that, look, why are we, if we can recoup so much money from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and all of that, the government should also look into some of these other, ministries, departments, and agencies to ensuring that some of these monies too are being recouped, so that it would help the Nigerian society, and of course allow for some trust and transparency within the system. But I want to say a big thank you to you, though, Mr. Adefolari Olamilekon, for that one. You are a political economist, you're a lead researcher, policy analyst at Poll Echo Analytics, a think tank and economic research organization based in Abuja, Nigeria. Thank you for adding your voice in this and, of course, opening our eyes to the discourse. Are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, are you there? Well, we just said thank you to you. We hope to have more conversation with you, yeah?
Okay, in closing, I would just hope the government will take a cue and do the right thing.
All right.
All what Nigerians are asking for, to do the right thing, show more transparency, show
All
more
right.
accountability, and
All
so
right.
go for evidence-based spending of whatever you are borrowing or whatever you are aiming.
Yeah.
So the Nigerian economy can be well better.
Very well said. Thank you so much, though. And this is where we call it a close. Thank you to each and every one of us who added our voices. I mean, I tell you, it's no little effort that we put out there. And yes, we would see this change, and we will keep talking until that change does come. Right? Until tomorrow, though, when we come at you with yet another topical issue to discuss. Do well to know the top of the hour 10. Martha will be here for the midday extra show. My name is